Hello guys and welcome back to the Mole episode 4. Now, we have got a lot to talk about in this episode because the cast is dwindling and suspicions are getting heightened, and there's a couple of things that I noticed throughout the episode that have really made me go, could it potentially be this person? Am I looking down the wrong avenues? Should I be potentially investigating some other people as well? But all in good time. So, without much further ado, let's get into the episode, shall we? So, I am going to start by talking about the fortune cookie challenge. The fortune cookie challenge was essentially everybody got a fortune cookie. Inside was either an exemption or an amount of money. All they had to do was basically lie or tell the truth, and then everybody else would vote on who they think actually had the money and who had an exemption. And the aim was to make as much money as possible. If someone remained in the game at the end with an exemption card, then they would have the exemption and we would lose the money. It is a very, very interesting position to be in. I was very concerned about Tony and Ryan. Tony and Ryan both claims to have the $20,000 little slip of paper, but Tony was the one that actually had it, meaning that Ryan was lying. Personally, I don't know why Ryan would try and bluff that much money. That seems really suspicious, and it's not exactly putting any ticks in her column. There are people that I'm very much writing off, and I will tell you about them later on in the episode. But Ryan is currently someone who is very much on my radar, and especially after this, I was like, that's a little bit suspicious. Fortunately, people did vote her out, but I found it very interesting that out of the 10 of them, it was a 6-4 split in favour of Tony staying, and Q, Sean, Ryan, and Niche were the ones that voted Tony out. Ryan makes sense, but the other three don't exactly fill me with confidence. Sean and Nisha, two people that have been on my radar for a little bit. I believe that Q is innocent. I don't feel like he is anything. I feel like he's just another player. I don't think he's the mole at all. But I do find it very, very interesting that those two voted with Ryan, essentially voting for losing them the money. I just find it very, very concerning in my eyes. The next group of people was Sean, Muna, Hannah, and who was the other person? It was someone else. But it was very, very clear that Sean and Muna were the ones who had the exemption cards. Fortunately, people voted out Muna and Sean. But I almost wonder whether this was a deliberate double bluff from Sean. Sean has really been on my radar, and this episode made it very, very obvious that he is a suspect, like a suspect with a capital S. So I was thinking about his actions in this little mini game and his actions before, and I find it very interesting that in the first challenge, he was part of the group that just botched the first part of the challenge. He, in the second episode, what was the second episode challenge? That was he was on the boat making team, wasn't he? And that seemed to go a little bit askew, a little bit awry. Then he was on the team where he had to go down the side of the building, so he couldn't really do much to muck it up. I think maybe this episode, in this challenge, he was very unconvincing in his delivery of lines, in the sense of he was trying to lie about having the money, and he was just very, very unconvincing. Niche was like, oh, I pray on everything, I swear on my mum's life or whatever, and Hannah was just like, oh, it's not me, look me in the eye, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me. And Sean was just like, no, I'm just telling you, it's not me, it's not me. That's all I gotta say. It just seemed frantic, it seemed desperate, and it seemed obvious that he did have the exemption. But I'm wondering whether he did that on purpose. Was it a double bluff? Because if he'd have ended up with it, he would have been suspicious. Whereas if he makes it really obvious, then gets himself voted out, then it kind of puts him back in the game a little bit. I don't know. It's interesting. Muna, on the other hand, very, very good liar, because it was only when she said, "Oh, it's me," that I was like, "Rah, okay, cool," because I genuinely thought Hannah had it. I really did. But Muna is a really, really good liar, which is a little bit concerning. Muna's another one that's kind of been on my radar. I don't think her actions are necessarily mole-ish, or I've not seen her do anything mole-ish. Like in the previous series, there was very active attempts by the mole to fuck things up. It's just there were attempts by other people that kind of made other people look suspicious. And I'm looking really at who is sabotaging on purpose, who is messing things up by accident, who could be potentially playing the game. And currently, I don't feel like Muna is a detriment to any team so far. She's not, in my opinion, lost them any money aside from the first episode when she decided to get the correction. So I don't know whether I would consider her a mole currently. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of different avenues to look down, and I'm not sure whether looking down her avenue is the correct one. Next up, we had Diana, we had Michael, we had Melissa, and we had Q, I think was in the last round. It was a tough round because immediately I knew that Melissa was lying, because she might claim to have a poker face, but she weren't convincing anyone with that. And I was like, okay. Then we had Michael. Michael had the other exemption, and he was very, very, very persuasive and lied through his teeth and managed to get through it with an exemption. He wasn't voted out at all. So out of a possible 50k, they managed to make 45k from just this one challenge, which is kind of crazy, especially considering at the start of like last episode, they were only on like, what, 10 grand? Then they went to 15 grand, and now they're up to 60 grand, which is very, very impressive indeed. I gotta say, these guys have absolutely knocked out of the park in this challenge, and it looks like only Michael has got the exemption. So everybody else is up for elimination. So they took the quiz, and I gotta say, I was surprised by the outcome. Now, this outcome was sadly ruined for me. Remember, guys, no spoilers, please, in the comment sections. Please, 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 only post spoilers on episodes that the spoilers are about. Do you know what I mean? So if you're spoilers for an episode on episode 6, then make sure the spoiler is on the video for episode 6, because people will be looking in the people will be looking in the comment sections. Like me, I like to respond to everyone that I can, and I don't like reading comments that have spoilers on, and this one did jar me because my main suspect was Melissa, and someone literally went, "Oh, Melissa's gone home," and I was like, why? Why did you need to say that? Why? It was a little bit frustrating, but I still love you all. It's fine. It's chill. Just don't do it again. Make sure. Just assume I've not seen any episode past the episode that's been posted. I probably have, but just assume that other people haven't either. Okay, little rant over. Melissa's gone home. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. So we're going to move on, because that was apparently a dead end, and I'm really upset with myself that I spent so much time obsessing over the fact that I thought it was Melissa. So then they get the challenge, or the little temptation, to watch another person's video about what they would do if they were the mole. And I thought this was a fantastic idea. The only issue is it cost them 5k per person that wanted to view it. Q was the only person that didn't want to view it. Everybody else decided to go. So that was 35k gone instantly. So they were left with 25k. I was like, these guys are horrendous at earning money, because they earn it, they spend it. They earn it, they spend it. They earn it, they lose it. They earn it, they lose it. It's so jarring, because I think actually you're going to run out of this with like £50, $50. That's all you're going to end up with at this rate. Jesus. So anyway, the challenge was interesting. It wasn't really much of a challenge. It was basically just sit there and watch it. Hannah's video was viewed by Niche, Tony, and Sean. I don't think Hannah is suspicious in the slightest. I think she's actually onto the person that it is, and she's gaining more information about who it is, and therefore that's why she's still in the game. Michael's video was viewed by Hannah. Hannah watched Michael's video and was like, this is very, very interesting. This is exactly what he is doing in the game, so maybe it is Michael. Then we had Muna's video was watched by Diana. I don't feel like Muna is here. The way she was describing her gameplay in the video is not how she's been playing. So I don't feel like she is the mole personally. I'm fully prepared to eat my words. And I'm frustrated because like I've watched episode 4, and I think it was about episode 4 or 5 last time. It was whenever the bank challenge was. The bank challenge was when I worked it out last time. And I'm frustrated that I haven't really got any solid theories yet. And that's what's starting to get on my nerves and bug me a little bit. Because I'm like, oh, I need to work this out. It's so frustrating. So then the last video that was viewed was Sean's video. And that was viewed by Muna, Ryan, and Michael. Now this was a very, very interesting decision because Sean revealed he is an undercover cop, which is a huge, huge revelation. It's a massive revelation to find out that this guy who's claiming he's a stay-at-home dad used to be an undercover cop. That is good information. I felt like none of the rest of the videos really gave anyone any concrete new information about the person, but this did, and that's what surprised me. Now, I am really suspicious on Sean. I really am. And there are reasons why I feel it is him, and I feel like there's reasons why it isn't him. And I feel like this video is one of two things. Either it proves that he's not the mole, because I really struggle to think that the editors who are editing that video, because I'm assuming that the interview was a lot longer than what we saw, but I'm refusing to believe that the editors would have left that in if he was the mole, because then it immediately makes him look suspicious. Being an undercover cop and we're looking for a secret player in the game, is that not suspicious? That's really suspicious to me. But then the other half of me is like, maybe they're doing this on purpose to make you think he's not the mole, to make you think that why would they leave that in? He's obviously not the mole when he actually is. So it really is just a complete and utter loss of trust in my eyes, because I just don't know what to believe. I think there's so many things that Sean does that makes me go, I think he actually could be the mole. But then there are other things where I'm like, I think it's just too obvious. It's far too obvious to be him. And that's what's bugging me at this point in time. So the actual big challenge for this episode was frustrating, to say the least. It should have been a simple, easy game of guess who. You had half of the team in the front, half of the team in the back, and they basically just had to relay information to each other to work out who had the gifts that contained the money. There were something ridiculous like 60 guests in there, and only 3 of them actually had the money they were after. So they had to cut them down based on what they were drinking, what they were eating, and what their profession was. So, interestingly, there was only 2 major sabotages that I noticed in this episode. And they make the sabotages quite obvious, I've noticed. They don't like to just let you notice them. They like to make a big deal out of them. And this is why I'm sitting here wondering, like, this is really, really strange. I'm not entirely sure what is going on here. You had Sean, Diana, Mike, and Muna in the back, and the rest were out the front with eyes on the guests, relaying information back. Now, the first time that they explained how they were going to do this, immediately I was like, this is a poor, poor plan. There were 10 tables between 5 people, right? Now, the way I would have done this is I would have put people in pairs, And I would have had, okay, person 1 and person 2, you do tables 1, 2, and 3. Team number 2 do 4, 5, and 6. And then, oh no, but then there's 10 tables. Okay, this doesn't work out. Hang on. Let me work it out. So there's 5 people. Basically, I just felt like each table needed 2 eyes on it. Because if you put 1 person on it, then it just becomes really, really problematic. Because they could easily fuck it up and no one would really know. But if you have 2 eyes on it, then that means the probability of the mole being able to sabotage without someone calling them out for it decreases dramatically. Same with the back. The back was done very, very well because everyone kind of had eyes on everyone. The only issue is that it got to a point where Sean knew that Michael was looking at him and being like, and Sean decided to purposefully do a suspicious activity in front of him in order to make him think that Sean's the mole, but it doesn't really make him look like the mole because it does make him look... It's very confusing, basically, because what he did was he decided to swap photos, and that was detrimental to the team. He could have chosen any picture, but the picture that he decided to swap and hide was the one picture that they actually needed to win. Which you could argue was just blind luck. It just happened to happen that way, and that Sean isn't the mole. But the mole knows the solutions to these problems, to these challenges, to what's going on here. At least I'm fairly certain that's how it was explained. They get given like a pamphlet and it's like, this is the challenge today. These are the solutions. Do with that what you will. That kind of thing. I really struggle to believe that out of the 60 people that were on that board, he just so happened to choose the one person that did have the money and stopped them from correctly guessing it at the end. I wanted to believe that it was like an obvious double bluff and he was trying to be like, oh yeah, I'm being the mole so that Michael would get off his back. But the fact that he chose the one person that actually turned out to be the person that they need to look for, yeah, I'm not backing him anymore. Same with Ryan. Ryan just by chance decided to throw another person into the ring when she knew that he was wrong for the fit of what they were asking for. The guy was eating chicken satay and she said, yeah, he's eating vegetable dumplings. And Hannah noticed this and Hannah was like, that's really strange because this guy is not the fit and she's lied about that. So this is information that I'm going to keep to myself to push myself further in this game. I think Ryan's just as suspicious, if not even more so, in my opinion. I think just as suspicious. It was a crazy, crazy episode, but that is all we've got time for today. Who are my 2 suspicions? Well, I think Sean's up there, I think Ryan's up there, and I think Michael's up there as well. I think there's suspicion on Muna, but the people that I'm 100% certain it's not are Tony, Hannah, Diana, and Q. Those 4 are definitely innocent in my eyes. The issue comes with Nish, Muna, Ryan, Michael, and Sean. I just don't know with them. They're not providing me with any kind of satisfactory responses when it comes to when they're doing the challenges. They all do shady, mysterious shit. Do you know what I mean? It's really uncomfortable to sit there and be like, I think Nish is probably the least suspicious out of those 5. But still, it could be anybody. But that is all we've got time for today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Doing all those YouTube things that you guys do so well. But until then, keep on ranting. Bye now.